We're very excited and pleased to bring to the stage, please welcome Palantir's Head of Strategic Engagement, Eliano Younes, and Forward Deployed Engineer, Ryan Fox.
Hello. Well, appreciate you all coming by today. My name is Eliano. This is my colleague, Ryan. I guess the goal for today is to kind of give a different side of like what most people would attribute to someone who works at Palantir, what they look like. So Ryan and I have both had pretty unique career paths, and we have both have very unique jobs. And I think both of us embody really what a lot of people who at Palantir actually do on a day-to-day basis. It might not make sense on the outside looking in, but it makes a lot of sense to us. So just for starters, before Ryan and myself talk a little bit more about what we do, I think there's a lot of folks out there that have heard about Palantir, and I think a lot of folks out there have developed their own opinions on Palantir. Just simply put, I think the focus today is just to say that Palantir is a software company. We're very proud to work with the United States and its allies. We're a dual-use company, so we work with commercial and government. I'm very proud of that as well, and we feel that that type of dichotomy there sort of creates an advantage for us in the marketplace, where we can learn from working in government, but also working with commercial partners. And we can, because of the nature of our business model, we're oftentimes deploying on the edge. We're solving problems at the edge with our customers, and so we're able to take those pain points and bring them back and improve our experience working with customers. So that's the Palantir background. We were founded in 2003. Happy to talk more about Palantir later, but I think for today we'll talk a little bit more about working at Palantir. So I'll let Ryan introduce himself and then we'll talk.
Hi everyone. Eliano already did this, but I'm a forward deployed engineer at Palantir. I've been here for 8 years now. Still love it every day. I started as a contractor actually 8 years ago, kind of snuck in, primarily responsible for delivering laptops to BD efforts inside of our DC office. I proceeded to kind of understand the work in front of me and chase just getting really good at that. And then whenever I got any moment of free time, I started asking questions, learning. I think that's probably the motif of my career, is like everyone is willing to teach at the company. They're a pretty inspiring group of people. I eventually got converted, started working on some Army contracts, more as like a system integrator. With my government background, I was an enlisted Air Force member for 6 years, active duty up at Fort Meade. Some of that helped me shape what would be a more robust career in security for the company, and so I started doing some security work. And then I ended up getting pulled into some rooms by some coworkers running our R&D business. And this becomes kind of this reoccurring theme where this guy, one of my mentors, pulled me into a room and he's like, hey, you want to see some cool stuff? And he shows me this amazing workflow he's working on, and I was like, well, this makes everything I've ever done look pretty lame. And he's like, well, do you want to work on it? And I was like, yeah. So next thing I knew, I was out at an exercise with the Army, and I was putting, amazing software systems in place with drone systems, and we were doing Army exercise, pushing the future of what the Army could look like. And so now I'd kind of gone from behind the scenes to a little bit more future leaning, and I kind of just kept getting phone calls of like, hey, do you want to do this special project here or there? And I kept saying yes, which has brought me to where I am now. So I kind of have two roles. One, I designed the booth behind you. So Eliano came to me last year and said, hey, I need help with this new show we're going to do. And I was like, sure. And we ended up, doing a 50 by 50 booth, and it was awesome. And it got me to the point where our leadership was like, hey, we see you have a real skill in this. We want you to continue to do it. So now I do that at the World Economic Forum, the Army-Navy game, and obviously AI Expo. And then on the other side of that, I'm inside of a R&D portion of our business doing mixed reality. So taking all of our classic data and extending that into 3D spatial apps, really thinking about that front line that you mentioned earlier. There's a large gap in the frontline worker with a lot of software will kind of end at the triager or at the foreman level, but no one's really getting software to the guy holding the wrench. And so we're building AR applications that are going to help them. We call it Sidekick, and that's pretty much my day job, is trying to get our work in front of some people so we can extend our ontology to the front line.
And so my job is rooted in the fact that I'm obsessed with Palantir. I'm obsessed with Palantir, and I'm obsessed with the mission of this company. I believe that this company stands for good. And when I came to this company, I had spent 10 years working in development, raising money for nonprofits. I worked at Johns Hopkins Medicine. I worked at the Reagan Presidential Foundation. I worked at a think tank prior to that. And for years I'd been following the company. I never dreamed that I would work at Palantir. And so when I came to Palantir as a non-technical position, it was just kind of like, I fell into the company. I can maybe tell you a little bit about how I got here, but I saw, when you come to Palantir, it's not like they tell you what to do. I saw that this was a company that was based in DC, where a lot of people not at Palantir were trying to tell the story of what Palantir did and didn't do. And quite frankly, I was sick and tired of it. I was sick and tired of people with bad intentions, many of them who are actually here. I was sick and tired of them telling our story. And so I took it upon myself to develop relationships, taking that skill from the nonprofit sector of telling stories, raising money. I wanted to do that for Palantir. And so I built relationships with think tank experts that were covering AI, that were covering government. And basically I showed them demos. I didn't want to sell them anything. I just simply said, this is what we're doing. If you have questions, here I am. And developed those relationships. And then we started to get invited to speak on panels. And we started to control more of the narrative around what the company does and doesn't do. And so I'm extremely proud of that work. And that sort of is what I do on a daily basis. So I work with Ryan. The whole point of this expo is to give the general public an opportunity to see Palantir up close and personal, to touch it, to not read something in a paper that says Palantir does X, Y, and Z, but rather to come and see what Palantir is doing to help our warfighters, what Palantir is doing to help our shipyards produce ships faster, what we're doing to help frontline workers with less technical skills become more technical in real time so that we can transform our economy and our future. And so these are things that we're very proud to do. And I'm very proud to be able to tell that story. I'm not an engineer, but I'm a storyteller. And so that's what I take a lot of pride in doing. So I have a very funny job. It's like I do trade organization and think tank relationships during one part of my job. Then I also manage a lot of our large-scale partnerships. So having been in the being in the nonprofit world for a long time, I understand how nonprofits operate. And so I can bring that experience to understand how I can best work with SCSP or the Reagan National Defense Forum or a number of companies number of organizations that we support philanthropically or that we sponsor for large-scale events. And then I also am active on Twitter. I started my Twitter account about a year ago. The whole reason I did it was to simply help amplify when my colleagues were speaking on things or writing things or when think tanks mentioned us. I just wanted a way to connect with this big retail community that loved Palantir. And so I wanted to be a liaison to those people. And that's kind of grown a lot. And I now manage relationships with all of our content creators, basically being a person that they can reach out to if they have questions about the company. And then I also, I run the company's merch store. We have a prolific merch business. People love Palantir merch. We have a lot of people that are very proud of the same things that I'm proud about, and so they want to represent Palantir. So I always joke with people that I run a clothing line as well. So Palantir is one of those things where it's not a structured, this is what you do and this is only what you do. It's you see a problem, you go and you do it, and it's very entrepreneurial, and you're given the opportunity to take chances and fail. And so if you're a go-getter, if you're somebody who believes in the mission, if you have a lot of conviction in your ideas and you're willing to work hard, then Palantir can be a place where you can really have an enjoyable career.
So while we're the ones up here talking right now, and I think it's nice because we're right over there, but this isn't unique to us at Palantir. We've had door greeters who got to know everyone in the business because they say hi to them every day, and then they get converted because they actually had some pretty solid project management skills. They learn Jira, well then they get their clearance, and then they do Jira for high side. Well then they learn how Jira works in the back end, and then they become an FSO, and then they manage all of the FSOs. We have one of my favorite ones is a event coordinator. He was teaching English in Spain, and he lied to get into the job, and was like, well, I organize events for my kids.
We don't recommend that, by the way.
Yeah. But he got in anyway, and he became an event coordinator, and he just got so good at running events and just keeping everything this tight ship. He ended up becoming a Jira admin, which is kind of a gateway here, but he became a Jira admin, and then eventually he got deployed to a customer where he was kind of managing the customer requirements for technical bits, and now he's a technical project manager running our DoD interop. And it's just, this place is inspiring. I've had conversations that have made me re-enroll in college. Like, these people are very, very awesome to work with.
And I just want to say, Ryan won't boast himself, but Ryan is one of my best friends now, just in life, but we met at the company. Ryan embodies Palantir because you ask what Ryan does, he just gets shit done. Like, if there's something in front of him, we just figure it out. Like, leadership will tell Ryan, I want you to do this, or we want to do this, we're thinking about this. Ryan figures out how to pull together people, and he gets it done. I'm sort of the same way, but in a more thinking about different events and how do you deal with really complicated personalities, or maybe people that are competing on the same sort of business development thing. Not everyone gets along with everyone, especially in a flat hierarchy, a flat organization. And so you have to be able to build relationships internally. And so those are things that I do really well. I get people that are not incentivized to work with one another without knowing that I'm doing it. And so for me, it's what's the business outcome and how can I use my skills? And then Ryan uses his skills. And so we're all very different, but we all just everything kind of boils down to can you get the thing done? And so the ability to just figure it out is extremely important. The ability to really understand your why and why you're at Palantir is extremely important because things are tough. And so when you're by yourself, you don't have structure, you might not feel like you have a lot of resources around you. Your commitment and your drive and your passion about the mission and you're feeling like you have a lot of skin in the game is going to help drive that. So I don't know if we want to open up to questions. We have about 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Happy to talk about whatever. Anybody? Yes?
Yeah. Our website has all of our job recs. You can also come to the booth after this and we can chat with you more.
Yeah, we're happy to talk. I think the one advice I'll give, unsolicited advice for folks that are interested in Palantir, especially if you're a technical person, Palantir hires, people will be like, oh, I have a computer science degree from Harvard, or I have a computer science degree from, Palantir is a meritocracy, period. And so what it means is it doesn't matter necessarily what paper you have or where you studied. It's can you actually do the thing? Can you build? So we don't care if you went to the University of Idaho or Harvard or Yale or Princeton. Those are great, and so a lot of our colleagues went there. But the most important thing is, can you build? Are you a problem solver? Can you go to the edge and figure it out and communicate with the customer and then figure out their pain points, their problem, and solve it through the software? And I think the people that have the best opportunity to work at Palantir that are technical are people that are just natural builders, that are building on their own and then coming and saying, hey, look what I've built. I'd like to, and in today's day and age with GitHub and social media, it's not hard to show off what you've built. So, and if you're a non-technical person, that's a lot more difficult, and I'm happy to talk with you afterwards. But that's a whole different world. Yeah.
Sure, yeah. I mean, there's a myriad of ways. Like I said, there's just this inherent mentorship ability. Everyone there is willing to teach. We have an internal version of a Stack Overflow to be able to ask questions. We also have our internal AI tooling to be able to ask questions like that. But I think one of the things that's been really good about our software as it's matured is its deployability has gotten a lot better. And so I think more often, it depends on which side of the house you go to, BD or PD, but for BD, which is where I live, you have really good tools and you end up kind of customizing it on behalf of the customer and your team. There's we have internal structures for deployments where you can just learn with your team there, and there's a good mentorship lead structure.
No. Did you have a question? No. Amit.
What's the most rewarding part about working?
I just think it feels good to just, when you care about something, and then there's something that you're working on that affects the business and can help the business, when you're given the opportunity and the ownership to solve that problem, that feels really good. I feel like that's really rewarding. And then I also think, not to get off the path here, but I think it feels really good to prove people wrong. This company has been counted out for a really long time. I'm a big believer in Dr. Karp and the co-founders and what they believe in, and I feel like playing a role in helping them prove the doubters and the haters wrong, that just feels really good. It feels awesome, especially when we know we're contributing to what we believe is a very powerful mission and an important mission in supporting our warfighters and in supporting our economy and sort of the companies that are driving growth. That just feels really good. I don't know, that's just a really, really good feeling. I don't know, what's your...
Yeah, for me, I would say it's the exposure to the applications I was using when I was active duty. I have this metaphor that when I was active duty, I was working at a Jiffy Lube, and sometimes a Mitsubishi would come in and I'd repair the Mitsubishi. And then I got hired to Raytheon, so I went to Mitsubishi to make the next Mitsubishi. And now I work at Tesla, and I'm like, oh, this is what it could be. I see our software and where it's deployed, and I know it's helping people with cognitive burden, with everything you can imagine when it comes to the warfighters and their ability to do their job safely.
Yeah, and I just want to add one thing to that. We're almost at time. The most rewarding thing about working at Palantir is the people. Our colleagues are so smart, they care, they mean really well. They're very passionate about this country and improving the systems and the institutions that power this country, whether it's hospitals, government organizations. We play a role in all of those different streams, and people just really care, and it just makes you a better person to work alongside those people. So you always feel like the dumbest person in the room. Yeah. And that might be the case for me in most rooms, but especially at Palantir. So you learn a lot every day. I think we're at time, so appreciate everyone coming by. So thank you.
Right.
Yep, thank you. Appreciate it.
We want to thank our speakers from Palantir's Head of Strategic Engagement, Eliano Younes, and Forward Deployed Engineer Ryan Fox.